Days Gone has gotten a lot of attention lately. There are several videos floating around YouTube right now claiming it's one of Sony's best exclusives and was largely overlooked when it came out last year. I started the game back when it released in April and I didn't make it past the first 4 hours, largely in part because I was swayed by the critic reviews, that little voice in your ear that says you don't really need to play this game. So I decided to check review scores, and it's one of the more recent examples of a game that critics didn't really enjoy, but players found much more compelling. That, coupled with the recent attention that it's been getting, forced me to give this game another shot, and I'm really glad I did. After the first few hours, I was so wrong about putting this game down last year. I'm really enjoying it. I honestly believe it's right up there with some of the best PS4 exclusives in the last few years. Before we move on, this video is brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends, a turn-based RPG available on iOS and Android devices. I know we all have time to pick up and play a mobile game, and this is one of the best ones out there. You can collect hundreds of unique champions with some really cool abilities, as well as customize artifacts to boost their stats. If you're like me and you don't like waiting around for time gates, Raid has plenty of opportunities for you to collect energy and keep playing. There's so much detail in the stats and debuffs and other RPG mechanics that are really impressive to see in a mobile game. Personally, I've been loving the campaign mode, battling through waves of enemies leading up to a final boss fight. It really scratches that itch unlike any other mobile game today. Check the link in the description below now to download Raid Shadow Legends and start with 50k silver and a free epic champion. You guys should check it out, it's totally worth your time. On to the video, let's talk about Days Gone. I was immediately interested in this game when it was first revealed at E3 2016. It had that exciting open world zombie game feel that felt like a mix of The Last of Us, which people obviously love because it's fantastic, and Dying Light. That's another comparison I made, as well as Horizon Zero Dawn, but it had that Sony feel, that flavor that we've come to expect from exclusives. And at the time, it was a really exciting time for PlayStation exclusives. I mean, we had Horizon Zero Dawn coming soon after E3 2016. We had Spider-Man that was also revealed at the same show. And so Days Gone was kind of lumped into that category of, wow, we should really pay attention to these games. And I was personally super hyped because I had a private play session at E3 2018, some hands-on time. It still didn't have a release date, but from what I played, there was a little horde, setup where I had to survive a horde, which is one of the best parts of Days Gone, and it had me hooked immediately. Where Days Gone stumbled a bit was with its delays, and I think we have a much better attitude towards delays these days, even 2 years just after this happened, but for some reason, I think this game lost a lot of momentum when it was delayed twice. First, it was supposed to come out in 2018, then they came and decided it was going to release in February, and that was in a very busy time of the year for games. And then it was delayed one more time to April when it finally did release. So when I played it, I was back on Facebook gaming, and I've talked about this many times. Things were kind of crazy behind the scenes. I didn't know if I was continuing on Facebook gaming. I was, earning a lot more than I had in any other part of my career. So the pressure was there, and I think that really detracted away from my experience with the first 4 hours of the game. I also distinctly remember being invited to the Borderlands 3 reveal event, and that taking away some of my excitement too. So all of these distractions really took away from me being able to buy into the Days Gone experience. Fast forward to now, I'm seeing all of these videos pop up in my recommendations like, hey, this game is actually really good. Hey, this is one of the best Sony exclusives we've had in a few years. And I'd also heard from viewers when I put the game down on Facebook, like, you're making a mistake. You really need to keep playing this game. And I had decided, whether it was from those critic reviews that said this is a very average, mediocre game, to all the distractions I was dealing with, that I don't really need to keep playing. And I honestly regret it because the game is awesome. There's no games I really am truly interested in until Doom Eternal comes out on March 20th. So we have this gap, and I kind of enjoy these gaps in, video game releases because they allow me to go to my backlog, replay a game I really enjoy, or finish something I never finished. So That's why I decided to play Days Gone. And I'm so happy I did because it's seriously special. On the surface, it is visually stunning in its scope, a very big open world game that seems to keep up in visual fidelity on a level of The Last of Us or an Uncharted game, which is really high praise. I think it's comparable to Red Dead 2, which is just a gorgeous game, and it keeps up that detail no matter where you are in the world. That's something that Days Gone is able to pull off, and not many games do that on a level that these two do. If you guys watch me and you know my taste in games, typically open world games worry me because they seem to lack a focus. There's a lot of distractions and needless systems and mechanics. That is a generalization, obviously, but I think I've been conditioned to feel that way because a lot of the times that's what we end up with. But truly, after playing Days Gone, everything I do in the game has purpose and connects in a meaningful way to the narrative. A great example of this is the infestation nests. These are scattered around the world, and normally you would think this is just busy work. This is an objective on a big map that I just have to clear out, get it over with. It's repetitive, it's bland, it's boring, but I never really felt that way when going through and clearing out these nests because they have narrative weight, they have narrative purpose. I literally can't fast travel with my bike around the world if there are nests in the way. It blocks my ability to do that, and it makes the roads more dangerous. And this is an open world and a narrative where that's a reality. Like, of course it's going to be dangerous to travel when you've got nests producing these freakers in large quantities. I love the way that they present quests as storylines because, again, in a typical open world RPG, I'll just throw Ubisoft under the bus. I do like Ubisoft games, but they're the worst offenders, I feel like, of just giving you a ton, just a list of missions that don't really have a lot of narrative meaning. Days Gone doesn't do that because it presents these in storylines. So each one feels unique and they all branch together. They have consequences and connect to one another, and it really gives weight to what you're doing. I also really love Deacon. The writing and his performance are particularly unique because of how real he feels. He feels like a real human being. He's not this hero that's propped up, that's faultless, that we usually encounter in these types of games where the protagonist is really not the focus. It's, oh my God, look at this open world. Look at all these things you can do. Deacon is the focus. It's a story about Deacon, and he feels very un-video game-like. He feels like a real person with real faults and deals with real consequences of his actions. I love all of his grumbling, his little comments, the way his voice breaks. He doesn't feel put on. The rest of the cast and characters are also interesting, and the facial animation, the quality of the motion capture is truly incredible. Like, I'm constantly blown away at the quality of this experience in an open world game. Also, there's an overarching conspiracy going on that you uncover piece by piece as you play through the game. That is totally up my alley. Another thing I've really appreciated is how clean the presentation is. This is something I always preach on my channel. I love a game with no fat. I also love a game with a very concise UI that communicates its information very effectively and very cleanly. This is something that you typically see in a lot of Sony exclusives, and it almost seems like that's something that Sony tries to rope all of their studios into doing with their exclusive titles. If you look back at the reviews, a lot of them claim that it's a bland, boring, uninspired open world game that just takes a lot of elements from open world titles and just spits them out in a very similar fashion. And I think it refines and pulls off a lot of open world elements much better than open world games typically do. It just feels like people didn't take the time to buy into it. And by people, I mean reviewers, I mean journalists and critics. They didn't make that conscious or unconscious decision to say, hey, I'm gonna buy into what this game is selling me. The comparison that's constantly been swirling in my head is like, hey, what if we made a video game that is the combination of The Walking Dead, but was actually engaging? Sorry, I did watch The Walking Dead, but I just had to stop after these last few seasons. And Sons of Anarchy. It feels like an HBO show in its presentation, its story, and its quality. It's really engaging and it doesn't get lost in needless character development, go down these storylines that don't really connect back, and doesn't push forward a central narrative. Needless to say, I think Days Gone is awesome, and I think it's absolutely worth a play if you have a PlayStation 4. It really is a hidden gem on that platform. For people that only have a PlayStation, like, I feel you really should play Days Gone. And hopefully there's a sequel in the works. I'm not really sure on that, but it's totally deserving. Bend Studio did an amazing job, or Sony Bend, on this game. I haven't beaten Days Gone yet, but I've heard it only gets better. And so that's why I wanted to go ahead and make this video and share my thoughts with you guys. Totally recommend it. You should play it whenever it's on sale or you're looking for another game to fill the gap like I am. Days Gone should be it if you haven't played it yet. That is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, remember to hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on live notifications so you don't miss my next video. Also, once again, make sure to check out Raid Shadow Legends, link in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.
Survivors.
Not exactly what happened.
I remember it pretty clearly. Iron Mike said he'd have nothing to do with slavers.
Okay, we never forced anyone to come in against their will.
How about Tucker? Same thing true for her?
I don't know.
You ever